Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pooch and Reed podcast. He's Braden Reed. I'm Joe Puccio. Braden, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Joe. Doing well. I got a haircut this morning. Looking good, hopefully, feeling good. Excited for what we got in store today.
Yeah, new haircut, new backdrop as well. I decided to turn on my lights too,
There you
just to
go. Get a
try
little
and make.
bougie.
Yeah, I mean, I got a Pearl jersey coming probably within the next month, so maybe we can match like that. We got same fro going on too, so today's a good day. And went to the dentist this morning, no cavities, so we're
Always love
chilling.
that.
We're chilling. It's a good day for us. Not a great day for one football team that may impact their playoff run, and we'll get to that later in the show because today is our 2021 NFL playoff prediction show. This is a massive one. There is going to be some disagreement because it is a group playoff predictor. So if you really want one team to move on, I already know one team, we're going to have to sell it to the other person and see what happens. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Pooch and Reed Pod. I always throw the in there, but it's just Pooch and Reed Pod. You can follow us on our individual Twitters as well. I am at the real Joe Pooch, and he is at Braden Reed 6. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So you are watching this on the day before the playoffs start. The first playoff game is Indianapolis and Buffalo. That's Saturday at 1:05. Oh, shoot. You guys are watching this and my wisdom teeth are out. So you're probably watching this and I'm bedridden. So I hope you guys are having a better day than me watching this. So let's just get right into it. Obviously, there's a new playoff format this year. 7 teams make the playoffs from each conference. Still, you got your 4 division winners, but there's only one team that gets a bye. The best team in each conference gets a bye. So as you can see on the bottom here, that is the Chiefs and the Packers. So we'll just start from the top and work our way down. So we'll start with the five versus 4 matchup, Baltimore and Tennessee. Braden, you can make your argument first. Who's going to take home this ball game?
This is going to be a good game. I like both of these teams. Tennessee, you hear a lot about Derrick Henry, broke the 2,000-yard mark this past week. Really great season for him. I mean, if the MVP award wasn't so quarterback driven, I think he'd be right up there in the running. But Tennessee's really good. I don't think Ryan Tannehill really gets the respect that he deserves. He's a good quarterback. Might be a little bit overshadowed by Derrick Henry. Obviously, the offensive line leads to his success so much, and that defense is good as well. Baltimore, on the other hand, they were really, really good last year. They haven't really lived up to expectations this year, but they're still a very good football team, and Lamar Jackson's playing well. Again, he doesn't have a ton of weapons to work with on the outside. Miles Boykin, I believe, Hollywood Brown are there, but they're not super consistent. And J.K. Dobbins has been good his rookie year. In this game, though, in Tennessee, I think Baltimore does come in and take the win. Like I said, Baltimore are a really good football team. Their defense has been playing well. And Lamar Jackson, while he might not be at his MVP form, still playing really well. I like Baltimore in this one.
Me too. When my biggest thing looking at playoff teams is how good are you going into the playoffs? Win streaks, your record in your last 10. And Baltimore is hotter than any other team in the National Football League right now. And it's going to be really tough for the Titans to stop Lamar Jackson because they're a defense that gives up a bunch of points. They give up 30 plus to Houston just this past week. So I was as great as Derrick Henry is, I feel like Baltimore's defense is still pretty sharp, that they're going to do their best to contain Derrick Henry in the best possible manner. And they're going to try to make Tannehill throw the ball. So I do think in this game that Baltimore beats Tennessee. This is going to be a great 5 versus 4 matchup. If Tennessee were to move on, I wouldn't be shocked per se. But I think that Baltimore will take this one, and Lamar Jackson's going to run all over Nashville.
Yeah, sorry, Finn, go ahead, finish what you were saying.
No, I finished. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, these teams did meet once in the year already. Tennessee did beat them in Baltimore. So, yeah, this is going to be one of the closer wild card games. We'll see how it turns out. But, yeah, I think we both like Baltimore in this one, and I'll turn it over to you for the Steelers and Browns one.
Yeah, I was really excited for this game. Yesterday, I guess. I was really excited. You guys were recording this on Tuesday. And this is the day that the Browns have announced that their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, has tested positive. I think Joel
Bitonio.
Wow, bad name that I can't pronounce. So he is also tested positive. So that's their veteran offensive lineman. And, I like the Browns. I wanted to pick the Browns. I thought Cleveland was going to win this because Pittsburgh, as I mentioned earlier, Baltimore is one of the hottest teams. Pittsburgh's easily one of the coldest. So I would love to pick Cleveland in this scenario, But when you don't have your play caller, and there may be some more players that test positive throughout the week, they've already had some COVID issues over the last couple of weeks. I just think that this might be the end of the road for the Cleveland Browns, and it really stinks because this is a miraculous year for the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield looks to finally fulfill those expectations that were once put on him, and a 17, 18-year drought finally over. Trust me, I know how that feels. It's not a great feeling, but once you finally break that drought, it's a great moment. But I think that just the drought's going to end. I don't think they're going to get their first playoff win. And I think that Pittsburgh will take this one. As much as I don't want to take the Steelers, I just think that if you lose your top play caller, that just kind of throws everything off. But who knows? Baker might be able to take the reins in this one and bring his team to victory. But I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one, Joe. I like the Steelers in this one too. Obviously a tough situation for the Browns, like you said. Stefanski won't be able to coach the game. They lose Batonio too, and it's been a really good season for them. A great backfield with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on the defensive side of the ball. I love Myles Garrett. Baker Mayfield, not elite just yet. Maybe he will become that down the line, but a good season for him, even without Odell Beckham Jr. for most of the year. I love this Browns team. They're fun to watch. They're talented. But like you said, the Steelers team is good. They're solid. They're experienced. Ben Roethlisberger should be back. He might be playing hurt. But again, even though the Steelers have struggled their way down the season towards the back end of their schedule, I do like them in this one. I think that playoff experience is really going to help them out.
Yeah, and I don't really know what the Steelers are going to do offensively going into this game. Obviously, they kind of switched up their offense late towards the year, and that's what kind of has been their downfall about why they went 1-4 in those last 5 weeks. But I think that it's a really tough situation for Cleveland. If the Browns end up beating Pittsburgh, I think it'd be one of the greatest moments in the NFL this year. So I'm obviously rooting for the Browns here, but I think that Pittsburgh's going to come away with this one. And then the 2 versus 7 matchup, Braden, I'll have you start off with Indianapolis and Buffalo.
Yeah, it's tough to argue the winner in this one. I like Indianapolis, but I think the Bills are a far superior team. It's surprising. You look at the records of some of these wild card teams. The worst team to make the playoffs in the AFC is an 11-5 Indianapolis team. Philip Rivers isn't what he used to be, but he's still a good enough quarterback where he can get this team into the playoffs. Rookie running back Jonathan Taylor has been good, and that defense is very solid as well. But the way the Bills have been playing, the way Josh Allen specifically has been playing, it's really tough to pick against this team. I'm sure he can attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, not just me being a Bills fan, but I think that the way that Buffalo has constructed themselves this year is completely different than any other year. Last year, Josh Allen made some strides, but he didn't have that number one receiver, and he still had a lot of issues with his accuracy. And going into year three, it was okay. Well, how is Josh Allen going to have? He's going to have more weapons now. He has Stephon Diggs, got him from Minnesota. He's kind of a diva, like how is that locker room situation going to work? And then it was okay, well, he still can't throw an accurate deep ball. So like, does Stephon Diggs even matter? And both of those have just been completely debunked. Allen and Diggs are a fantastic duo. They have one of the best quarterback wide receiver chemistries in the NFL. And Josh Allen, if it feels like as he gets older, he gets more accurate, which is just not true with any quarterback. So I do like Buffalo in this game too. The one thing that the Bills are going to have to stop is that run game. The entire year, Buffalo's rushing defense has been terrible. And Jonathan Taylor, he's put up multiple touchdowns in several weeks for this Indianapolis Colts team. But it is Saturday at 1:05. Snow is in the forecast. The Colts, they are an indoor team. Buffalo strives in the snow. Indianapolis is going to rely on that run game a lot. So the Bills are going to have to put Indianapolis in the snow in order to get this done. But again, I do like Buffalo moving on. So now let's move over to the NFC. Tampa Bay and Washington. I didn't really understand why anybody was playing for the NFC East title because you'd have to go up against Tom Brady. So you get a worse draft pick and you're going to get slaughtered by Tom Brady. I mean, I've been saying it all year that Tampa Bay's identity is still up in the air. But now in these last couple of weeks, you're kind of seeing Tom Brady take the reins of this team. I think that in the start of the year, it was Bruce Arians' first half. They would be trailing at the half. They'd have to change their scheme so that Tom Brady throws the ball more, and then they end up winning the game. If Tom Brady can just say, hey, Bruce, I've won multiple rings, been to multiple Super Bowls, just trust me, bro. Tampa Bay can make a run in this NFC, which in my eyes, the NFC is kind of up in the air right now about who's going to take this thing home. So I like Tampa Bay over Washington in this scenario, and I think that you cannot bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Yeah, not at all. And you could say that if they were going up against any team, especially a team like Washington. Alex Smith is a great story. I love Chase Young, probably going to be defensive rookie of the year. This is a fun team to watch, but they're nowhere near as talented as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is 11-5. They could have been a lot better. They have a super talented team. Their defense carried them last year and has been good this year, but that offense this year with Tom Brady has been far better. Brady threw I think 43 touchdowns pretty quietly. That's a lot of touchdowns. You don't hear a ton about it, but they've got weapons on the outside. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown might not be his former self, but he's still very good. And Rob Gronkowski's in there as well. This offense is really, really good. And even though the Washington defense is very good, I think Tom Brady, with all that playoff experience he has, is going to win this one handily.
And what I really like about the Bucks right now is that they're utilizing all of those weapons that they brought in. At the start of the year, Gronk was not his old form. Antonio Brown came to the team later on. It just seems like all those guys are now getting equal touches, and this is a team that is putting up a ton of points. And as you mentioned, I do love Washington. I think that Chase Young is going to be one of the greatest defensive players of our generation, but I know that's a lot of weight to put on his shoulders, but he's pretty good.
He's that good. He's that
Yeah.
good.
But I just think that it's going to be really tough for Alex Smith to move the ball in this game, and I just think that Tom Brady is always going to be able to put his team in scoring position. I'd be really shocked that if there would be 3 and outs for this Tampa Bay offense in this matchup against Washington. So Tampa Bay moves on. Braden, you can go ahead and give your selection for LA and Seattle.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think if LA is fully healthy, this is going to be a lot closer. I might even pick them in this game. Obviously, Jared Goff had surgery on, I believe, his thumb about 10 days ago. So the timeline for him to get back for this one's going to be tight. We'll see, but I'm going to project that he doesn't play. Having surgery and then trying to play a playoff game, even if he is back, it's going to be tough. But right now, the way John Wolford, their backup quarterback, looked last week, that offense was stagnant. They couldn't do a lot against Arizona, and I don't see them doing a lot against Seattle. Seattle's defense started out the year rough, but it's really come on as of late. Jamal Adams has been such a big addition for that team. Russell Wilson started off the year really hot, has cooled off a bit down the stretch, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in football. So, yeah, like I said, John Wolford, I mean, the guy still has a LinkedIn account for his finance career. Not an NFL playoff quarterback for sure. I like Seattle in this one.
I mean, hey, I give John Wolford credit for looking
Oh,
looking in the
definitely.
future, and I think that it's a fantastic story as well with him, a guy that played at Wake Forest, ended up I think he played in the Allegiance Football League,
Yeah, 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 if he did.
Allegiance of American Football or something like that, and now he makes his way onto the Rams, and he has to be the starting quarterback in a playoff game. You're just going to be intimidated when you see Russell Wilson on that other sideline. And, obviously it's going to be a really interesting matchup with Seattle's offense versus LA's defense. But I think that this year, especially with there being no fans, offenses are just humming. Offenses can communicate. There's no real miscommunication going on between the quarterback and the sideline, the quarterback and his receivers. So I think that with Seattle being home, LA without their starting quarterback, I think the Seahawks are going to move on here. But as you mentioned, if the Rams were fully healthy, I would definitely consider them beating Seattle in this scenario. So now 2 versus 7. New Orleans and Chicago. The Bears snuck into the playoffs through the back door, 8-8 record. Chicago is Chicago. We don't really know what's up with them. Is Trubisky the guy? Is Trubisky not the guy? Foles doesn't really look like the guy, and there are Bears fans like, oh, we should draft one of these quarterbacks. Well, guess what? Now you're a playoff team, and you got to go to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And this one, it's not even going to be funny. I think that the Saints are going to take down Chicago. The Bears defense, which has been led by Khalil Mack, they're just not the same defense that they once were. Allen Robinson's a great receiver, but Trubisky is just so hot and cold that we can't really make a great prediction about what he's going to do against a really tough Saints defense. And this is also the last dance for Drew Brees. And I feel like the team is kind of rallying around Drew. They want to get him one last Super Bowl. And I think that the Saints are going to demolish the Chicago Bears in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I think the X factor here is Mitch Trubisky. If Chicago's gonna come out with this one, they're gonna need a big performance from him. He started the last 5 or 6 games down the stretch. I don't know exactly the number, but he's been up and down. He's had some games where he's played well and looks like a starting quarterback. Other moments, I should say, he doesn't look too great. So if he comes out and has an outstanding football game, there's a chance Chicago wins this one. But I think, like you said, Joe, I think the Saints are right up in the ranks, right at the top of the NFL defenses. They've been playing really well. Drew Brees, obviously not the quarterback that he used to be, but he's smart. Quarterbacks get smarter with age. Drew Brees definitely has. Doesn't have that arm strength anymore, but still makes the right plays. Michael Thomas is back. He's arguably one of the best receivers in football. And Alvin Kamara is Alvin Kamara, 6 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. Killed my fantasy team. Don't get me started. But that offense is really, really good. They have weapons on the outside. And like you said, the Bears defense, not what it used to be. I think New Orleans runs away with this one.
And also, if Breeze isn't the Drew Brees that he's always been, you have Jameis Winston and you have Taysom Hill, where you can kind of throw that wild card around there. I think the Saints can give Chicago some looks that they have never seen before. And it's going to be a really good game for the Saints, especially when it's at home. Sleep in your own bed. Chicago's got to travel all the way down there to Louisiana. I almost said L.A. Technically, it's L.A., but you get the point. And so I think that the Saints are just going to take away this one. No disagreements here. We
I
have
was surprised.
yeah. I was ready for a little bit of disagreement. But look, let's just move on to the divisional
No
round.
scratches in the wild card. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. So now, as we move on here, we see two new teams enter the fold: the Chiefs and the Packers. We'll talk about them in a second. So let's just do the 2-3 matchup, Pittsburgh and Buffalo. Oh man, give me the Steelers. Please give me the Steelers in this matchup. I'd love to see Pittsburgh again in Buffalo, but Braden, I'll let you take this one first.
Yeah, I don't think I can give the Steelers this one. I think the Browns Steelers game in the wild card is going to be close. The Steelers haven't been great down the stretch, like I mentioned earlier, and Buffalo has been really good down the stretch. They were good to start the year, and they've gotten even better as the year has gone on. You talked about Josh Allen, the strides he's made this year. It's been incredible. I've been really impressed with his progression, and he's been playing like an MVP candidate. I don't know if he'll win it, but he's been playing really, really well. Pittsburgh's a good team, but I just think Buffalo, the way they've been playing, a win for the Bills.
Yeah, I share your sentiment there. I think that Buffalo, they look at Pittsburgh as kind of the enemy right now. Obviously, New England's not really the enemy anymore, and Miami's sort of getting there, and the Jets are still rebuilding. Last year, Buffalo had to go into Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football to get a wild card spot, and they beat them. And then obviously this year, Sunday Night Football in Buffalo, the Bills got the better hand of the Steelers. So it's something with Pittsburgh that Buffalo just is able to capitalize on. And the fact that it's another home game for Buffalo, obviously there's not going to be 70,000 down there in Orchard Park, but there's going to be Bills fans there. They're going to have a good time. And I think that Buffalo, they probably won't score like the 50 points that they've been doing for the last couple of weeks, but I think they'll come away with the victory here and they will move on to the AFC Championship game, I believe, for the first time since 1994.
It's been a
Now,
while.
it is. It's been a while. All right, Baltimore and Kansas City. This will be a fun one as well. I think that there's a clear winner here, but this will still be a fun game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these are looking at last year, these are the two best quarterbacks in football. It could have been an AFC championship game preview last season. Obviously, Baltimore hasn't played up to those standards this year. Kansas City has. They very well could have been 15-1. They benched Patrick Mahomes last week just to give him the rest. Ended up 14-2. But this has quietly been the best team in football, in my opinion. You hear about these up and coming teams like Buffalo, like Tampa Bay. They've been playing well, but the Chiefs, the defending champions, it's tough to pick against them. They've been playing really, really well, and a lot of people aren't talking about them, which is surprising. Um, I think Patrick Mahomes should win the MVP award. I think he's been the best player in the league, but I think there is voter fatigue. Aaron Rodgers has had a great season. That's a conversation for another time. I really like this Chiefs team, one of the best teams we've seen in the league in a while. I like them in this one.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, it is tough to bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's a fantastic quarterback, best player in the league. He's not my MVP choice. Aaron Rodgers is my MVP choice, but I think that Patrick Mahomes still he's number two easily. And I think that if you pick against Kansas City, you need to have a really good reason why. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge to that one. But I think that the Chiefs are going to be able to take this one. Home field advantage throughout the playoffs, coming off of that week bye. The Chiefs are going to have a field day at Arrowhead. So I do like Kansas City in this matchup as well. Seattle and New Orleans. This is a good one. This is going to be a really good game. And I am going to take Seattle in this one. I know. I think that Seattle. Wait a second. I don't. Braden, you know what? No, Braden, you need to go. You need to go first. I don't know. I
No,
don't know
this is
just
this
yet.
is
I
a
don't
really
know.
tough one. These
I
are
know.
two really good football teams, and New Orleans defense has been really solid all year. Like I said, I am really sure they're top of the standings or top of the stats for defense all year. They've been good. Drew Brees obviously had those broken ribs. I don't know how he's playing football with those health concerns and the age that he's at, but he's still trucking along. Russell Wilson was an early favorite for MVP and has really cooled down. But this is a tough one. The Seattle defense has come on. Jamal Adams, I don't know what position he plays. He can play safety, but he can play defensive end. He has this crazy number of sacks for a safety. But this is really, really tough. I think this one's going to come down to the wire. It might be a field goal, definitely a one possession game in my opinion. But I think in New Orleans, I'm not sure if they have fans, but the Superdome is a tough place to play. I like the Saints in this one, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was hesitant because Seattle's highs are really high. They can be the best team in football, and then they can fall under and they can lose to the Jets. Or no, they didn't lose to the Jets. That was the Rams. But they can lose some pretty. They can lose games that you know what I'm getting at. All right, just the
I get your
Seahawks are so
message.
hot and cold. Good Lord, I can't speak today. It's probably the teeth cleaning. But anyways, I am going to take the Saints in this one too. Not just to piggyback, but off of you said, but like New Orleans is a team that if it's not going their way, they can change their game plan. Like Coach Sean Payton, he's so underrated. Everyone talks about how great Belichick is and Andy Reid. Sean Payton is up there. He as one of the best coaches in the National Football League, and so is Pete Carroll. But I think that in New Orleans, I think that the Saints have been waiting for, to get back to the Super Bowl for a while now. They've had some bad calls against the Rams and the Vikings over the last couple of years. I think they're going to get the upper hand here against Seattle and they'll move on. But again, this is a coin flip. I think that Seattle could easily go into New Orleans and take it down. I'm interested to see what you have to say about this one. Tampa Bay and Green Bay, the two Bays going at it against each other.
This is a really intriguing matchup. If this ends up happening, I'm going to be very excited. Aaron Rodgers, I think, will win the MVP award. Well deserved, definitely. But coming into Green Bay, Tampa Bay is going to have a really tough time. Green Bay, the way they've been playing, Devontae Adams missed 2 games and still put up like 18 touchdowns. He's been out of his skull. The Green Bay defense has been really good too. But Tampa Bay is a sneaky pick in this one. I think if this is a normal Tampa Bay roster, if this is their roster last year with Jameis Winston or pretty much anyone else at quarterback, coming to Green Bay is a daunting task. That's a tough ask for pretty much any quarterback in the league except for Tom Brady, the most experienced quarterback in the league, the greatest of all time. Patriots fans out there, if you're watching it, I said it, get it on tape. The greatest of all time. But Tom Brady coming to Green Bay, that's the only quarterback, in my opinion, that can get it done with the talented roster around him. I think I like Tampa Bay in this one.
Me too, because if there's one team, if there's going to be one team that goes into Lambeau and beats the Packers, it's going to be Tampa. I don't think New Orleans can do it. I don't think Seattle can do it, and that's why if you ever of you watch the Pat McAfee show, Aaron Rodgers comes on every Tuesday. I think he's on the show right now as we speak. And going into week 17, going against the Bears, like they pretty much had the one seed secured, but he said, no, 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 we want to make sure this is 100%. We need the playoffs to go through Lambeau. And I think that the Green Bay Packers do not want to face Tampa. I think they're gearing up for it because the Bucks do have to play Washington. Um, but this is the one matchup where I really think this hurts Green Bay. And as great as Aaron Rodgers is, I just don't think that defense can hang with Tom Brady and all those weapons on offense. And I think that Tampa Bay's defense is good enough where they can get the Green Bay offense off the field, and the Bucks can do their thing, move it down, kill some clock, end up winning this ball game. It's going to be a close score. I think it's probably going to be a one touchdown, 3-point game. But I am also picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this matchup. So again, no disagreements here. But now I think here is where the big disagreement is going to come in. Let's just start. We'll start with the NFC because I think the AFC is a little more of a hot button topic. Tampa Bay and New Orleans, an NFC South championship matchup.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good game as well. Obviously, like you said, an NFC South matchup. This is going to be a cool one. This is going to be a pretty high scoring game, like I think the Green Bay Tampa game would be. Um, Again, I'm going to take Tampa Bay for the reason I cited earlier. Tom Brady, with the offense that he's had, he was still making Super Bowls in New England with some pretty poor receivers around him. Julian Edelman being the best one most of the time. But in Tampa Bay, Mike Evans is not 100%, but he's still a great receiver. Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, like I mentioned earlier. This offense is really, really good. And the Saints defense is really, really good too. No disrespect to them, but I think Tampa Bay comes out with this one, heads to the Super Bowl.
I hate being wrong, and I'm going to admit my fault here because throughout the season I was always knocking the Bucks. I'm like, they don't have an identity. Bruce Arians is Bruce Arians. He just wants to take over this team. And no. This is Tom Brady's team now. I feel like Tampa Bay has kind of flipped the script here. They're starting to realize that they have, as you mentioned, the greatest quarterback of all time. They can single-handedly win games. And I think that if Tampa Bay can go into Green Bay, they can sure as heck go into the Superdome and take down the Saints. I also have Tampa Bay as a 5 seed going to the Super Bowl. They're granted a team in Washington that they have to play, so I mean that is something that won't really hinder the Bucks too much. But going to Lambeau, going to the Saints, those are two tough places to play. And I think Tampa Bay is the only team in the NFC that can really go into both of those venues and win. So yes, we have Tampa Bay going to the Super Bowl. Buffalo, Kansas City.
Oh, I have a
Braden.
point. I have a
Okay,
quick
okay,
point
okay.
about
Go
the
for it. Go for
Buccaneers before we move on to the AFC. That's going to be a good one. But these
it.
teams have met twice already, and the Saints did beat the Buccaneers both times. But that was early on in the season. I think the second time they played was maybe week 9, maybe week 8. But like you said earlier, and I really agreed with that point, that Tampa Bay didn't really find their identity until later in the season. You could even say they underperformed. Like the talent they have on this team could easily win 12 or 13 games. I think they had a real shot to win the division, and they didn't really find themselves until late in the season, but they've been playing well down the stretch. And if you look at the schedule, it might say the Saints are the better team. They beat them twice earlier in the season, but the way Tampa Bay has been playing down the stretch into these playoffs, I think they're going to have a good time with the Saints.
Yeah, and throughout the season, I didn't really say Tampa Bay was going to be a contender, but that's where I was wrong. I think that Tampa Bay now has found their identity, and they're just going to trust Tom Brady, which I think is a no-brainer decision. So, Tampa, you are going to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is in Tampa Bay, so that'll be interesting as well. I hope that there's not enough Bucks fans for this game because Buffalo and Kansas City is the AFC Championship matchup. Braden, I'll have you start with this one.
This is going to be an incredible game. I think both of these offenses have been playing super well. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. That connection has been so much fun to watch, especially with Stephon Diggs in my fantasy team. But these two quarterbacks are top 5 in the league. Can make the argument top 3, and I wouldn't be mad at you. So this is going to be a super fun one to watch. I think it's going to come down to the defenses. If you can make some stops in this game, you'll win the football game. Patrick Mahomes, incredibly hard to stop, but Josh Allen is so hard to stop as well. It's tough. I couldn't be mad at you if you picked Buffalo. I couldn't be mad if you picked Kansas City. But personally, I think Kansas City just has the best roster in football. Joe, you might disagree with me, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. But Kansas City, best roster in football, one of the best coaches in football, and Andy Reid, they can scheme up some big plays, and I think they head to the Super Bowl for back-to-back years.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough. I really need the Baltimore Ravens to beat Kansas City. I really need them to because I'm still picking Buffalo. I mean, let's just be honest here. Like Kansas City is Kansas City, but Buffalo's Buffalo. Like don't count them out just yet. I think that as you mentioned, it is going to be an offensive shootout. This might be a 38-34 win. Kansas City's defense, though, they're pretty good. Pretty good. Kansas City's offense, they're decent. They are cold over those last couple of weeks. They had to squeak out a win against the Falcons. Obviously, they lost to the Chargers, but you can't count that. They started Chad Henne. But the Kansas City Chiefs, they have had multiple one possession wins this year. And as great as Kansas City was to start off this year, they've cooled down. Yes, they're at the end they're winning these football games, but they're not going against Buffalo in these games. They're going up against the teams in their own division. They're going up against teams in the NFC. I forget which NFC division that they played this year, but the NFC was not a strong conference by any means this year. I think they played the NFC South, so they played Atlanta and Carolina. Um, so man, like I just think that with momentum's sake, I think that Buffalo is a hotter team than Kansas City right now. And I mean, as you mentioned it, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, they're top 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League. You say the Chiefs, and I can't disagree with you. I'm going to simply just because I'm a homer, and I think that Buffalo does have a good enough team to beat Kansas City. Personally, I'm choosing Buffalo, so we do have a little bit of an what am I trying to say here? Disagreement, but I I don't want
Now,
to pick. I don't want to pick them. I don't want to.
It's tough, especially as a fan. Believe me, I would have a tough time picking Kansas City as well. Look, these defenses are extremely close, and like I said earlier, it's going to come down to that, in my opinion. Kansas City, 17th in terms of total yards, Buffalo 19th in terms of total yards, so they're neck and neck. I think defense is going to have to make some plays. Trey White, obviously on Buffalo, and guys like Bashad Breeland, Tyrann Mathieu on the Chiefs are going to have to make some plays, but. This is a tough one. This is a toss up. This is definitely going to be a one possession game. Offenses are going to go crazy, but I think Josh Allen is Patrick Mahomes has been good over the past few years, and I think that comes into play when you're talking about an AFC Championship game. Josh Allen's been incredible this year, but Patrick Mahomes has that experience, won a Super Bowl last year, and I think in a big game like this, he just might make a few little, how do I say this, fewer mistakes than Josh Allen might.
Uh,
The
mm,
Bills' time will come, Joe. Don't worry, their time will come. I
oh, come
promise.
on. I don't want this. No. Fine. 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 Kansas City. Fine. But against my own will. I mean, it's tough to pick against Kansas City, in all honesty. They're a great team. Um, I think the Buffalo is really the only team in the AFC that can give the Chiefs a run for their money. It's going to be a close game. It is at Arrowhead, and Arrowhead has a ton of fans. It's going to be an environment that Buffalo's not used to this year because they haven't played in front of fans pretty much for any of their games. So, all right, fine. Kansas City and Tampa Bay is your Super Bowl. Tears will be shed on that night, just so you know. And thank God Syracuse pushed back their start date so I wouldn't have to cry in the dorm halls. So,
I'll say this about Buffalo quick, Joe. I think they're up and coming, and they'll definitely make a Super Bowl within these next few years. Kansas City, they're going to have some cap issues down the line. They're going to have to draft well, sign young guys who for cheap contracts are talented. You're paying Patrick Mahomes $50 million a year. You're going to have tough times surrounding him with talent. They're paying guys like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, Chris Jones on that defensive line. Buffalo's young and they're talented, and they're gonna keep getting better. I think they're going to make a Super Bowl within these next few years for sure.
yeah, and the one thing with Buffalo is on the flip side of that, they are not in any cap space. Obviously, you're going to have to pay Josh Allen probably half the economy that Buffalo makes in a year. But you have Stephon Diggs, who's making a pretty good contract. Beasley, he's probably on his way out pretty soon, 2 or 3 years. John Brown, same boat. You have guys like Gabe Davis who are stepping up, making unreal catches. I could easily see him being a third wide receiver in the future. Isaiah McKenzie, he's more of a slot guy, so there's your replacement for Cole Beasley. Keep getting receivers, keep getting those. I mean, the Bills' pass rush is a huge issue. Ed Oliver stepped up in the last couple of weeks and he's done pretty well, but there is some holes on that defense that do need to be filled. I agree with you in the sense that this is definitely Kansas City's year. And when that contract starts kicking in for Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be tough to keep that dynasty around. But for now, Kansas City, back-to-back Super Bowls. Hard to disagree with you there, just simply because I'm a Bills fan. But I do think that Kansas City, at the end of the day, scrap my passion for the Bills. I do think Kansas City gets it done. So now we go to the Super Bowl. Kansas City and Tampa Bay. This game is in Tampa Bay, and there are going to be fans there. I think that there are going to be. I what I was imagining or what I was hearing, I think it's 17,000 healthcare workers. So all of them have the vaccine and they're going to be allowed to go to the game. So do you think that the fans and the location sway this one in favor of the Buccaneers?
I think playing at home is definitely an advantage for the Buccaneers. I don't know enough to win the game, but we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, obviously playing in your home stadium, that gives you a boost for sure. This is going to be a really cool matchup if it ends up happening. It's kind of like the passing of the torch from the past to the future, from Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady's had all the success for the past 20 or so years, playing well into his 40s and still playing at a high level. And then you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes coming up, sat for a year, was the MVP the next year, has completely almost changed the game with some of the throws that he's made, 60 yards across his body. He's ridiculously talented, and he's the future. He's the face of this league, in my opinion. So a game like this, Tom Brady passing the torch to Patrick Mahomes. But in terms of the game being played itself, this is going to, again, it's going to be a shootout. The NFL is becoming a passing league, and we've seen that this year. This is tough. I really like Kansas City. I like their roster, and Tampa Bay is a great offense. Same thing with the Buffalo game. I don't want to sound repetitive, but the defense is going to have to come up big for both of these teams for whoever's going to win. You have to take the ball away. That's a tough thing to do. Take the ball away from Tom Brady. Same thing like it is Patrick Mahomes. But like I've been saying throughout the duration of this video, Kansas City's roster, one of the best in the league. probably the best quarterback in football. Tyreek Hill, top 5 receiver. Travis Kelce, probably the best tight end. I just think all these weapons that he has, they're going to be there. It's a tough ask to repeat a Super Bowl champion, but I think the Chiefs do it this year.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City, they are, as much as I talk about the Bills beating the Chiefs, in all honesty, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. They are just so talented. Patrick Mahomes, he's phenomenal. And I remember back in Mahomes' draft, they traded up with the Bills to get the 10th overall pick, and they used that to get Mahomes. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess let's just see how this works. And then now you have all these Bills fans who are like, oh, we should have drafted Mahomes. And it's like, that's not how it works. It's the relationship between Mahomes and Andy Reid. And then the fact that he's also throwing to the fastest receiver in football and the best pass catching tight end in football. I would love this Super Bowl. I think that the Chiefs Patriots AFC Championship game over the last couple of years, phenomenal. I think that, or not the past couple of years, it was only 2 years ago, but that was a shootout. That was so much fun to watch. Everyone was rooting for Kansas City in that matchup too. Now you put it in the biggest game of the NFL season. This would be awesome. And I think that Tampa Bay would honestly hang with Kansas City. I think that, um, you know, it, Tampa Bay just has that efficient offense where they can take down Kansas City's defense. And if we're talking about hotter teams in football, I'd honestly say Tampa Bay is a little more hotter than Kansas City is. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is going to tear up that Tampa Bay defense. Like, there is no doubt about it. As great as Tampa Bay's offense is, I think that it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last, whoever has the ball more, and whichever offense is not on the field for the longer period of time, they are going to be at a severe disadvantage. And if we're talking about Andy Reid versus Bruce Arians, I would rather take Andy Reid. I know it kind of breaks your heart as an Eagle fan, but Andy Reid has really kind of turned himself around with Patrick Mahomes and the offense that they have over there in Kansas City. It's tough to go back to back, but I think that if Kansas City can get through Baltimore, if they can get through Buffalo, they're going to have a really, really fun Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay team that is also going to have to go through the gauntlet to get there. So the Pooch and Reed podcast says, against my own will, that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl.
The Pooch and Reed official endorsement for Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. I love it.
I mean, if they win, I think we got to buy shirts or something. I honestly
Oh, we're getting this bracket 100% correct.
I don't want to say this is going to get wrecked. This looks beautiful. I don't know.
It does look good.
It just they all make sense, but at the same time, they all make sense. So it's probably not going to happen. But
yeah, I mean, there's a couple wild card games that could go different ways, but I think once you start getting to the AFC and NFC championship games, it could really shape up this way.
Yeah, and I like Aaron Rodgers so much down here with the Packers that I think the Packers can make a run. But that is a brutal matchup to go up against the Buccaneers. Most likely the Buccaneers. I mean, if they have to go up against Washington, that kind of changes the entire scenario here. And we would probably pick the Packers to go to the Super Bowl because all these games would be at Lambeau. But the fact of the matter is there's only one quarterback in the NFC that could take down the Packers. It's Tom Brady at Lambeau. That's going to happen. And in the AFC, there's only one real team that could possibly take down Kansas City, and they're going to have a tough time of doing that as well. So Kansas City and Tampa Bay, I really like this bracket. I think that there are a lot of people that would put money on Chiefs Bucks and having the Chiefs winning. So, yeah, I don't really mind this at all. Would you make any changes to this possibly?
I wouldn't. I'm surprised we agreed as much as we did, but I'm glad we did. Through the wild card and up through the divisional, I think that's how a lot of the matchups will shape out. And I'm excited for these playoffs. Really good job by the NFL making it through the entire regular season without having to postpone anything. Obviously, their COVID protocols worked, and here we are. So 2 back-to-back days, Saturday and Sunday, a triple headers, a wild card weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to sit down and watch all these games. He is going to be on Nickelodeon. That's going to be a sight to see. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll definitely tune in.
It's Saints Bears, right? That one's on Nickelodeon.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for wild card weekend. Plot myself on the couch and watch all 6 of the games.
Yeah, I'll be in rehab for my wisdom teeth, so I probably won't know what the hell's going on. But the one game that I might think would go a different direction would be Tennessee and Baltimore. Obviously, it's a 4-5 matchup. I'm not picking the Titans to beat the Ravens, but I could easily see Derrick Henry just running over the Ravens. But I don't see them getting past Kansas City whatsoever. I don't see any of these teams getting past Kansas City. And that's really the only game I would change. Obviously, AFC title game. I mean, I'm going to be sad if the Bills
a little bit
lose
biased,
that one,
but fair.
Yeah, that is a biased take, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Browns Steelers is another one I could see flipping. Obviously, like we mentioned earlier, Kevin Stefanski won't be coaching that one. They'll be missing Joel Bitonio, but that's one I could see going in Cleveland's favor. They're coming in, they're hungry. Obviously, their first playoff appearance in forever, so they're going to be playing hard. I think it could flip the Browns' way, but I think those are the only two that I could see.
Yeah, so here is the draft order here because we did our mock draft earlier. So we'll have to do a second version of it at some point, maybe a final cut with the entire first round. But after this Dolphins pick, these are the playoff teams. Washington gets 19, the Bears and Rams. So this would be a pretty solid draft. I think that teams that would need a quarterback, Washington would need one. I think Indianapolis is looking for one. Chicago might go for one. And who knows what the future of Drew Brees? Maybe the Saints are going to trade up with one of these teams to get into the quarterback race. So that's it. I think that's our official prediction. I mean, I really hope this goes well. We'll tweet this out as well before the playoffs start, and obviously in the comments section you can give us your opinions on the playoffs. You can obviously chirp me for not picking the Bills to beat the Chiefs, but look, it's a team effort, and if we're trying to win this thing, you got to put the team on your back. So, or you got to be a team player. Wrong saying. But anyways, thank you for watching the Pooch and Reed podcast. You can again follow us on Twitter at Pooch and Reed Pod. Instagram is the same username as well. And our Instagram and Twitter handles, personally, you can find those in the description as well. Again, thank you for watching. He's Braden Reed. I'm Joe Puccio. Let's go Buffalo, baby. Let's win a Super Bowl. Woo!